Quiet. Absolutely insane.
You were on a trend.
someone.
There's like 47 in the set. It makes his money. If you finish
You are live.
I'll send it.
Really?
Guys, I am going to call our meeting to order. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Dave Behrens,
Here.
Steve Christensen,
We'll be here in a minute.
John Popa,
Here.
and John Walter.
Here,
We're going to forego chair decision, forego the pledge of allegiance. We've got a lot to do in a short period of time here. Approval or late additions to the agenda?
Okay by me.
okay by me.
By consensus, consent, the agenda is approved? No
No,
additions?
you need to have a motion.
Oh, okay.
I make the motion.
Second,
All in favor of approving the agenda as is?
aye.
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 All opposed, okay. Public comment?
I would just like to introduce our new Parks Secretary. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Lori Eubanks,
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori. What's your last name?
it's Eubanks.
Eubank.
You know my mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Norma,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just on the roll.
Of course he does.
your neighbors.
She brings a vast wealth of experience and knowledge to the position. So,
Excellent. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes from the May 29th meeting.
They're okay by me.
Good.
I went through them and didn't find anything, so
Make a motion to approve
I'll second that.
Yes.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
them. Aye.
All opposed? They are approved. Next item is pondweed management report. Scott, I don't know if you were in on this, but I sent both of you the email of
Right.
meeting with the technicians that day. They came, they looked at it, there was no evidence whatsoever of milfoil, so there was no need for them to spray, and our contract is about milfoil, not just all weeds. The two weeds they pointed out that we had, especially the chara, looks nasty, looks like it's gonna clog the whole thing, or could, in a way. But it turns out that it's not attached to the bottom. There are all kinds of canyons and pockets and open water underneath. And it's pretty good habitat for fish. It also adds oxygen. Oxygen to the water quite effectively. So it's just basically good, even though it's not a native. The native pondweed is much more dominant in the back long ponds. In fact, they didn't see evidence of even earlier milfoil growth in the back pond. It looks like the choking weeds that I've seen there in past years are all common pondweed, so native. In both ponds, all three ponds, we saw fish. We saw bass, numerous bass in the fishing pond, two good-sized ones, one was really big. And fish spawning, protecting beds in the two long ponds at the back. Not very big fish, but they had carved out a nest and they were protecting it. So we have overwintering. The techie will come back in about 3 weeks will be his Northwest Michigan schedule. He and I are gonna meet, we're gonna review visually, look at the ponds again. If treatment's needed then, he'll do it. If treatment's needed later in the summer, they'll be back again, they can do it at that time. If the pondweed in the back two long ponds is too thick for fishing access, Mike said, I can slip in here and do that in 15 minutes with a quart of product, or a quarter of, whatever it was, pint of product. And he said, it won't take me any time and we'll just forget it ever happened. So we may get some help from him on one of his journeys back. The contract, I still haven't talked with the big boss, Paul Barber. The contract says it's good for a year, I want to know exactly how we use it, if we do. But I don't have that answer yet. So all in all, things look real good for the fish going in. Fish go in next Tuesday. That's still tentative, but 23rd is the first revised date. And of course, we sometimes don't know till 2 hours before they get here. They call from the road and say, we're coming. Lonnie and I are going to be there with 1 or 2 other fish committee to help actually get the fish in the ponds.
At what time did you say?
I don't know until they call. They give us about a 2-hour notice when they hit the road.
Tuesday fish, okay.
Hey, Steve.
Better late than never.
Okay,
When I meet with Lonnie next week, I will point out a couple of places where he could organize some manpower and get 2 small patches of what's called curly pondweed, which is invasive. Could be a problem, but isn't right now. But that was part of what I went over with the techies, and I think we'll work on solving that little problem next week. Plus, Savin Lake Services is now carrying several different cutting and removal tools that both of these guys that were here that day thought this pond is ideal for a volunteer crew to pitch out this cutting instrument, drag it back, rake the material up, and with your direction, pitch it somewhere. So all that's good progress. I'll learn more about those products for a little later on.
okay.
Any other question on that? Good. John Popo, you're up. Let's move on to fishing access walkway update.
The next one is this walkway. We're decided we're gonna go out for bids this year. I've given a handout. I would like to either walk down and out real quick or whatever, but this is gonna be what's gonna go out to the bidders. And I'll get with Laura later because there's a authorized way of sending this stuff out. But for this committee and for our next committee here at 3 o'clock, these are the things that we're doing. The walkway is gonna be 8 feet wide. There's about 180 feet of it. Your second page sort of shows it.
So at this point, the walkway itself is not going to be extended as an access walkway all the way to the parking lot.
Correct.
Okay.
Not at this time.
No, I agree.
There's gonna be an approach on the north end that has a real gentle slope, like a 112. I got with Scott, we're gonna smear the dirt right around there, around one of those tee-offs. The road commission has these 6x8 guardrail posts, and there's piles of them out there. And Scott and I went and looked at them. And we can get them for $1 a foot, which is cheaper than little 4x4s or posts. So we're gonna get 180 feet of them, and we'll stack them there. They're gonna be secured by like long rod into the ground. One of those attachments show that.
John, horizontally,
Pardon me?
horizontal or vertical?
Posts?
Yeah.
We're gonna lay them horizontal.
I know, but.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, Scott, the word post.
Yeah.
I put it on the deals that Jack is saying post.
I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah, that's
someone
good.
that doesn't.
Right. Yep.
Was the 8 foot wide because that fits a do-more tool to,
Yes.
Yeah.
Good catch. We're gonna level about with the surface of the water. I went around with Scott and there was those old cedar posts there. We're gonna put them at that level. This way, the thing is level all the way around. We're gonna fill it. We're gonna put a barrier down and then fill it with 21 AA crushed stone. And then Scott's suggestion is to then cover it and top it with 6A, which is like 1/4 inch, so that it fits in all the interstices. How about that word?
That's a new one. Can you spell that for me?
Interstices.
I like it.
Uh, And again, there's a slope, after it's graded, then the slope should be gentle towards that, approximately at 1 in 8. And I think that first page kind of shows, the one that says page 2.
Yeah.
There's some dirt to be removed and then a nice gentle slope so that people aren't, or kids aren't running right down to the very edge. And there's not a lot of yardage of dirt to come out of there. And we're gonna remove those 2 bushes at the north and south end. And that 4th sentence from the bottom, the excess of dirt material can be disposed on site near the old tee off around the edges immediately northeast of the work area. There's a lot of area there that Scott pointed out. And this way the guys can either take a loader and dump it. We don't have to haul it to the back 40. We don't have to haul it anyplace. They can probably do that whole thing with a loader and a Doomore. And then want to grade it and seed it. And we'll get with Steve for a soil and erosion permit. And that's about it. I don't know if I missed anything, but I plan on presenting this at 3 o'clock to the full
Commission.
Parks Commission, not that. Now, my question for Laurel is, let's say our Parks Commission, Laurel, approves this.
Okay,
You can go out for bids on stuff without going to the county commissioners, right?
right. The only time that they're going to see it is when you're requesting approval of the bid.
Correct. Yeah, so as long as we go out for bids and then we'll see how they come in, then you go in front of the board.
The only thing that I'm cautioning you though, were you part of that discussion when one of the commissioners voiced concern about being surprised by the project? So with that being said, maybe it would be a good thing to just ask Chet to include that as part of his update that you're going out for bids on this project.
Now to go out for bids, I come down and see you and say, here's what I want to test.
Yep, you bring me your
And you got
scope
a
of
big pile of
service
stuff,
and I will send it on to council to draft an RFP.
okay? All right, we'll see how it goes this afternoon and I'll get with you then.
How long might the legal response be drawing
A
up?
lot of it depends on their workload. They might be able to draft something in a reasonably short amount of time, but I would say at least 2 weeks minimum.
I'd like to get it done this year, I just know it takes forever to get through. If I can get this to Laurel here next Monday or Tuesday, she can send it out and maybe we'll get something by the end of the month from the legal, and then we can take it right away to the executive the first part of July. And I suppose in our notes saying, hey, we would like to present this at the July executive so that no, we don't need it then. We only need it after the bids come
After the
back.
bids come in.
Yeah, all right.
So push hard to get out to bids and then from there.
Yeah, we'll
have
push
a
hard to
meeting.
get the bids. All
And
right.
if we can have a relatively short time before we open bids, we're confident we're gonna get one bid, right?
I don't know. I'm not confident in anything.
Oh, scratch that comment.
If we got one bid, I would be content. But we'll see. So I don't know if I want to spend the time to go over each one, but if you guys can think of anything this afternoon or whatever, add to it. I plan to have that as a cover letter, and I think someplace in that proposal I'll get with Laurel. I was thinking of having an on-site meeting, but it's not worth it for this kind of a job. They can contact me and I can either meet them or talk over the phone if they've got stuff. It's not terribly complicated, but I would like to meet with each bidder and we'll go that route.
Dave, I would caution you on that because anything done in the bidding process has to be available to any bidder. So that's what is so nice about an on-site meeting at a specific date and time. And if anyone has any questions, they direct them to me. And then I have a list of questions that we prepare answers to. And then everyone has the same information to come up with their bid. There's no look of favoritism or anything like that.
You mentioned that, when we meet with someone once in a while, though, we write down the questions and then we send it out to everybody again, because if we don't get that one guy that we need and he's the guy there and he couldn't make the meeting, I don't want to leave him out.
Right.
Can those in-person meetings be individual? I mean,
Yes,
We've got to document it.
we can do by appointment. And then if they have questions, we just make sure those questions get to me. I will compile them. And then everyone will get the same set of question and answers.
Good.
so if there were 3 bids, 3 different in-person meetings, you'd be getting 3 sets of questions
Right,
to distribute.
prior to submitting a bid.
Okay.
And that'll be part of the RFP, is that this
Yes.
in-person visit is required and the
I-
directions for
I think
setting
that's
up
a
the
good
appointment, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Now, when we did the cleanup
Correct.
at Miles, there was one person that didn't do an on-site visit. It was a low bid, and that was automatically eliminated because they didn't do an on-site visit. So it gives us an opportunity to thin out the herd a little bit.
Laurel, if I can keep us going, in terms of this issue, because I've heard it twice now, and when I've been in front of the commission, that something from Parks and Rec is coming at them out of the blue. Big surprise. Is the CIP really part of that communications process? That is, that's where we put in projects. I mean, I filled out the form for the one that I'll be talking about. It's part of the budgetary process, but it's not the specific next year budget. It's can be a longer term look. Is that almost the first step at informing the county that we're looking this direction, we're thinking,
It can be, but it all depends on who's reading the documentation. I think because you're coming into this late, because this isn't part of your CIP
right,
process, if you work with Chet, because he does an update to the board monthly, and he can mention that you're working on this, and then they can't say they weren't informed.
right. And I hear that. I was thinking of not just this project, but in general. Is that CIP critical because it's part of that communications process? It's some of the earliest place we can put out directions that we're thinking.
It's a good thing to do that,
Okay.
because some of these things are just kind of coming up midstream. As long as you keep them up to speed on what you intend to do, that goes a lot towards the process.
Okay. If we don't get bids, or if for some reason we can't move on this year, it's not in any detail, it's not in the CIP. So should I get it in? Should I get it in before I've turned in a CIP form for the parking lot improvement. I didn't do one for this yet because we're putting out bids. We'll learn more about the actual cost when that happens.
I would suggest having a conversation with Chet.
Got it.
I'd also suggest putting in the CIP, the entire plan that was developed by Gossett. The entire thing.
I think he gave that to her.
Okay, I'll look at that. It'll be multiple forms, I think, then.
Yeah.
With each one to fill out.
So there's some broad brushstrokes in each park that's in the CIP with large numbers. but I think that would be an appropriate one to put in for Veronica Valley, the entire plan. How many ever sheets it takes, and Laurel can work with you or Trudy to see how much detail is needed, but that entire plan should be in, I think. CIP.
Okay. And I see the value of that. Before that, what other things do we know we need to get in, really looking at towards 2022 or maybe 2023? I've added the parking lot upgrade already. I've submitted that form in the drawing. I'll get,
So you're on number 4 now?
no, I'm asking, well, yeah,
Parking lot upgrade, you submitted that.
yeah, I did jump here, John, with that question, because I want to.
So the parking lot upgrade, you got it taken care of?
I've
You got the drawings?
I submitted the drawing and
And
following Trudy's instructions, filled out the form, which means as best possible at this point in
well,
time.
we got to also take it to the committee tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
That's correct.
Or no, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, besides fishing access walkway, parking lot, porta potty upgrade, what other Veronica Valley things do we detail? I mean, a specific project do we need to get into the CIP submission? Because I'll do those. I see Steve's point, the entire Gazing-Zubek plan should be in there. I'm more concerned about getting some things in that we know we want to move on in the next year or two.
What do we do about the Wayfarer signs, Dave?
Well,
I don't know if that's capital improvement.
Oh,
That wouldn't be a
Oh, I'm sorry.
big budget thing.
it's just not a big budget, and since we're waiting on the new photo, that's been kind of shoved to the back right at the
Okay.
moment. And even if we add matching signage for Miles Kimmerly, we're not talking about a big budget item here. I can't, right, I haven't, even from Gosling-Zubek plan, unless we get into wanting to identify specific UA or ADA trail development. Is there anything we need to get in there soon? Because I see your point about getting all of this pieces of the planning we did for the grant. But some of that's enough down the road, I don't have to worry about it first.
Right. And it kind of begs the question, we're in the process at Miles of about to walk the walking trail and get it pin flagged so that we can start moving forward on getting our arms around what kind of money we need and which way we should present a plan for a potential bid in the future. The plan itself had a little bit of work by Klaus done on it, just kind of as a freebie to give us a tweak as to where we were heading in a couple areas. We do not have Klaus or Gosling hired in to do anything for us. And when it comes to certain points and certain turns, like say, we're gonna do a CIP for the entire plan for Veronica Valley. Give me a good ballpark that might be a little chubby, just we need to know a ballpark to put in the CIP. Or maybe it's a piece of the plan. We need a ballpark for the CIP. That's the kind of outfit. They work day in and day out with all this stuff that's going on. They can give us a ballpark.
Well, and we have some of that in the paper
In the plan,
plan from the
yeah.
plan, yeah.
So some of those, I don't know if that.
Well, no, I see that there's a bunch in that plan that I can jump on and make sure that the CIP reflects it. But is there something I need to think about, we've got to get in this
Budget cycle.
next 5-week budget rotation.
I think next meeting, at 2, we're gonna be going through all the stuffs from each.
Mhm.
And then, I would say a complete redo of the restroom facilities at Veronica Valley. And that might be, working with Scott, and we're gonna get, the, concrete down. It's gonna be connected to the new parking lot.
I've kind of included those two in
Are they already included?
together. I
Okay,
called it parking lot and porta potty upgrade.
okay, that's a done deal.
Now, the quotes, verbal quotes or workup that John and John did range 61 to 70,000. I took the middle of that and added 20%. And so in the CIP, I said it'd be 80,000. That's the cost estimate.
I think the next thing should be the pavilion.
It says here pavilion, I was looking at,
Yeah.
construct a small pavilion for picnicking near the fish pond area.
We have a free plan on board,
And it's-
in-house.
Yeah, and it's already in that big thing that was done for the CIP, but if we were gonna do something, I'm not sure next year, but I would say our next thing we should concentrate on is that pavilions and bathroom thing.
I think first thing we do is give that free plan that we got and pass it over to John and have John Walter take a look at it and get it up to speed. You've seen it, okay. So I think that,
Okay, but that is answering my question right there.
The capital
A
improvements,
specific part of the project from the grant planning pavilion.
I think the next step in the native prairie plantings, keep the ball rolling on that. We've got some great stuff going on. What's the next area that we're gonna do with that? I don't, but that's something that is small enough, it would fit into the budget process. We can label it, in this 2022 budget, maybe, I don't know.
And I don't know if that comes under capital improvement. Jen did distinguish, or did say that capital improvement didn't have to be only those things that are depreciable. That they can be substantive, long-lasting improvements to the park. I don't know if the prairie,
Well, we just did one within the last 5 years. And that, Jen can just, that's a few clicks away to see what she did with that. Because we paid money for it, and it was a grant and da-da-da-da. But, she could detail it out, but it's something, that if we had an idea, it's gonna take another $5,000 to do another 2-acre piece of prairie, then we can put that in the budget. We can detail out where, which slot it goes in, but that can be a piece that goes in the budget. It's gonna be kind of sharpen your elbows the next meeting, and all of the different committees are gonna be, okay, this, and there's a list, and Scott, that list that you put out, was that miles only?
Scott,
The list that you put out, was that miles only?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a list that Scott kind of kibitzed on for miles. He could probably kibitz on all of the parks, but, there's gonna be quite a long laundry list, and a lot of dollars represented by each of the committees. And,
and that's only 1 hour long meeting,
The
so
executive committee, is that today too?
it's at 2:00 and we each get 20 minutes.
And then the executive committee's today, and whether we can hammer that out or not, I'm sure we can. It's just a matter of what do we put on it, and the problems we're gonna have this year on the executive committee side is we have way too much. How do we pare it down, and who gets what? So,
well now, with the parking lot upgrade and an idea that that whole project's gonna be $80,000, is this something that this committee feels Parks and Rec should go to bat for above our normal budget?
Oh, for sure.
I think so, I think, you know, I think, yeah, I
thought
think,
so, but I want to
yeah.
be clear that this is,
It's a big capital improvement thing, and those things pop up every now and then. You got your regular operating budget and pulling weeds and maintenance and a lot of Scott stuff, but every once in a while, you got a big capital project. You're putting it in there. They're putting this walkway in because they felt they had some money that was sitting there for, not really a big capital, it's improving the present walkway. That should be over and beyond our present budget. That's how we need to present that thing next year, or for next year.
for next year.
Next meeting.
I agree.
Now, are we gonna, let's say we don't get any bids back on the fishing access, are we gonna see if we can break that into pieces and do some without the bidding process, because we're doing little bits at a time? Are we gonna spend our money some other way?
I guess
The
we'll see how they
walkway?
come in.
The walkway,
Yeah, the walkway.
We'll see how,
let's cross that bridge when we come.
Okay.
we'll see how it comes.
Well, from Veronica, I don't see any other big budget item for next year's budget, specifically next year's budget discussion. Parking lot
Next year.
and walkway access development, although we're still hanging fire on that until we get our
We'll see
people.
how it comes in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Painting
I'll have to
bridges.
hustle and get something to Laurel.
Painting bridges.
All three, or you really mean the big one? John, you found out something about paint on the bridge. It's not lead paint.
Right.
And we
We
don't,
got the results back. Scott sent them in. We got them back from SOS. And the paint doesn't have lead in it. A lot of it's flaky, but we went out and looked at it. And that bridge doesn't have any rusted stuff. It just looks crappy. You take a lot of money to paint that thing. It's not easy. It's not sitting in your garage.
well, and that's why Scott brought it up. Is that a big budget item we need to start getting into budget discussion? Is actual painting of the bridge, or is that down the road far enough that?
It's not a capital improvement project. It's a
No, that's true,
maintenance
it's
project.
maintenance, yeah.
And we've got a lot of other things to buy. If I had to put my 2 cents in it, I wouldn't do anything to it for the next 5 years or more. But if we want to paint it, someone wants to paint it and go out and stick it in a budget someplace, I wouldn't do it for next year.
I think it's an item that, kind of falls into the category of the grub shack at Miles. You know, it gives, well, it's an impression item. I mean, you pull into the Veronica Valley and arguably the most dramatic feature of the whole park is that bridge. And, you know, if you polish up the bridge, when you're polishing up the park, I mean, it goes a long way in a lot of different, you know, it'll be front page above the fold, nice project. It'll be, I don't know, it's something that has to be done. Makes the park look better, makes it look like we're caring about the park. It's a big, thing. I mean, you pull in and there it is. And if it's not up to snuff, there it is and it's falling apart.
No, it's not falling apart.
I know what you're saying, but John Q. Public doesn't know that. I don't know, I'm just saying, I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
I'd like the pavilions and bathrooms first.
If we can, well, I guess just to talk about it, we're gonna need to try to wrap our hands around $1
For what?
painting the bridge.
I don't recommend doing it next year.
I'm not saying we're gonna do it at any time, but if we're talking about doing it, we can't get anywhere and we don't have any idea where to put it unless we know how much it is.
I'm gonna need 8 minutes between meetings, just to let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along.
So, but Steve, we don't also know the cost of pavilion. I mean, what I'm hearing is these are two big project items that we gotta look towards in the future. We don't have dollar figures on them, but that's something then we can work on. I'm with John right now. I'd prefer to see pavilion bathroom development than bridge painting, but, you're also right. That's the iconic
Well, I mean, just, if
image.
there's a way that we can get an idea, but we, at mid-burner, back burner, but I mean, we shouldn't take it off the burners. I mean, we should, at some point, we need to know about what we're talking about, because we don't know if it's equal to the pavilion, we don't know if it's half the pavilion, we don't know if it's a quarter of the pavilion, we don't know. So at some point, we're gonna have to try to get a handle on it. So let's just keep talking about it and not let it go away. I'm with you.
And I know a step that John Walter and I will work on or discuss relative to this pavilion. So we'll start working on in those directions. But I think I'm good on on what it is coming from this committee that we really need to focus on for the budget discussion for next year. Do we need a motion that we approve the recommendation of the parking lot upgrade to our full commission?
You can just do a consensus to move those forward.
I think it's just a consensus that we push it forward to a full commission.
We're in consensus.
Any objection?
No,
So we are in consensus, so we can just move it forward as our recommendation, okay? That's what I'll be doing. Do we have a full Parks and Rec Commission meeting in July?
No.
Yeah.
You do not in July or November, because those are historically hard months to get it.
Correct. That's what brought it to memory. How about our committee meeting? When do you want to have, let's make that our last piece of business here, pick our next committee meeting for this group.
give us a couple week time frame that you're thinking.
Well, we won't have much more knowledge of any of this.
There's no commission meeting next month.
Right. So we don't have to meet before that for actions. Laurel?
I would point out that the county board will be holding budget sessions in July, so you might want to work around that schedule for this one.
Just
So-
because of availability of,
Right.
okay.
So
I won't
maybe-
be around in July,
No, that's part of the point. We understand.
and August is a little iffy, but
You're only gonna be gone
I-
one day in July.
I don't have to be here for quorum. You guys will have a quorum. No, go ahead, and don't plan it around me, just go ahead, as long as you three are there, you know.
But I'm gonna plan it for late July, early August.
Okay,
Any
just
objection?
do an email,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, I'm not gonna set it specific, but John Pope, John Walter,
Please seek our.
by aim towards late
Well,
July,
that-
early August.
I'll be here.
Okay.
Fill this out.
Okay, you got 2 minutes?
So public comment was not skipped, but public comment's open right now, but let me move on to keep us moving. Any other comment from board members here, commission members?
Now, there's potential Parks and Rec coordinator and assistant. I filled out a piece of paper on that. That doesn't have to come from Veronica Valley, but we need to move it forward to that. Now, who has that piece of paper?
I submitted it to Laurel.
You gave that one to her along with?
Yeah, but I didn't tell her the whole commission would need that document this afternoon, so.
Laurel, about a month ago, filled out a piece of paper to have a part-time person work for Parks and Rec.
I don't recall getting that.
It was a list of multiple, John's look ahead at multiple things we needed.
It was a
Think
separate
about it.
piece of
Sure.
paper.
I'm sure I sent it to you. You asked.
Put
for
it into next year's budget.
I have to look at my emails.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't think of having that distributed by today, because John, I've intended to bring this up this year at our 2:00 meeting.
Well, we need it for the 2:00 meeting.
I can look for it when you're done with this one.
All right.
Oh, yeah. We do have, I have got those other things to do, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment? Aye. I know I said